The One Piece experience. I know it's been a while since my last One Piece video, and the reason is the story started getting more serious and I just couldn't fit everything I want to say in one short. I'm gonna start with the Water 7 saga. I have already talked about the previous arcs in my shorts. If you want to check them out, please feel free to do so. And let's just jump right into it. Okay, so Water 7 Saga, it starts with Long Ring Longland arc. The only thing that I liked about this arc was Zoro and Sanji teaming up for the first time and actually making a great team. Well, except that they fought every 2 seconds. And one more thing, Aokiji's first appearance. This man can literally freeze the sea, and he defeated the Straw Hats in seconds and then left using a bike on the sea. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when he mentioned Luffy's grandfather, I'm not sure why I thought he was talking about Roger. And oh boy, little did I know. Anyway, Aokiji, cool character, 7.4 out of 10. Okay, now I'm gonna skip to the part where they arrive at Water 7. So the main reason they went to Water 7 is to fix Mary using the gold they got from Skypiea. And by the way, if you are one of those who skipped Skypiea, just don't talk to me. Anyway, on their way they arrived at a train station, or water train station, and they met Kokoro-bachan. She's cool, I love her. She tells them to go talk to someone named Iceberg. And when they finally arrived at the island, every one of them went on their way shopping and exploring the island. Meanwhile, Zoro stayed on the ship to guard it, or just sleep, or do both. Anyway, while Robin was walking around the city, some masked dude came up to her and was like, CP9. And Robin turned absolutely pale. And she disappeared after that. At the meantime, Nami, Usopp, and Luffy were exchanging their gold for money. After that, they met with Kaku, one of the Galila Company foremen. This company is led by Iceberg, and it is one of the best shipwrights. Kaku told them that he doesn't know where Iceberg is, but he can go check out the ship real quick. Later, Luffy and the others met with Iceberg. After a while, Kaku returns with his bad news, saying that the ship can't be repaired. And to make things even worse, the money was stolen, and the thieves were known as the Franky family. Their leader Franky is a half-human, half-cyborg, very talented shipwright, and he's also very strong. He seemed to be very mean and evil at first, but he's actually very goofy and kind-hearted. Now, Usopp felt really guilty since he was the one holding the money, so he decided to take responsibility and go get the money back himself. And he was defeated and beaten up really bad. And after the Straw Hat found out what happened to Usopp, of course they didn't let that slip, and the boys went for revenge, and they turned the Franky house upside down. After that, Luffy decided that since they can't fix the Going Merry, they are going to buy a new ship. The rest of the Straw Hat agreed, even if it was painful, but it was the only choice. Except for Usopp, who was like, "Nuh-uh, I'm not leaving the Going Merry behind." And he started yelling and saying that the Going Merry is a crew member, you can't just leave her behind. And he started saying really hurtful stuff to Luffy, as if things were not already bad enough for him. Luffy snapped and said, if you are not okay with the idea, you can just leave the ship. And before he finishes what he was about to say, Sanji kicks him and started scolding Luffy for what he was about to say. After that, Usopp said, I'm leaving the crew, I challenge you Luffy for a duel over the ship. And I gotta say, this whole scene was so stressful to watch. Like everything, seeing how every single member was on edge, it was just painful. Anyway, Luffy accepts the duel and sure enough they fought. And I'm not gonna lie, it was an amazing fight. Like Usopp did so many unexpected things, but still lost. And Luffy said to him that despite losing, I'll give you the ship. Usopp left after that, and Luffy started crying saying that it's too much for him. And what Zoro said to him next is something that I really liked. He said, don't lose yourself. At times like these, if you lose your confidence, then who can we have faith in? Well said Zoro, 100 out of 10. Now let me pause for a second. I did not like what Usopp did. Like he took things too far. Everyone was already so stressed because of Robin's disappearance, the ship situation, the money was stolen. Like everything was a mess and he made things even worse over a ship that can't be fixed. But however, Mary wasn't actually the only reason. Usopp had his own insecurities, like feeling left behind and not being able to keep up with the other members' power. But I still think that he went a little bit too far. Now back to Robin's situation. Iceberg was attacked and the culprits were Robin and the Masked Man. So it was announced in the city that the Straw Hats were behind the assassination attempt. And here I was thinking that it can't get any worse. Now of course Luffy and the others were so confused at first, so they decided to wait until she attacks again and confront her. Later that night they did come back for Iceberg again, and the identity identity of the masked people was revealed, and they were none other than the Galila Company foreman and Iceberg's secretary. And turns out they were CP9 agents, and their job is to get rid of anything that is considered a threat to the world government. Now the reason why they were after Robin because she's the only living person who can read poneglyphs, and the reason why they were after Iceberg is because he has the ancient weapon blueprint. Anyway, Luffy and the others met with Robin, and she tried to push them away, saying that she betrayed them, she's not part of the crew anymore, they should just forget about her, and well, she's talking to Luffy, he's not gonna buy it. However, she left without listening, and Lucci, one of the CP9 agents, fought with Luffy and Zoro, and his fruit power allows him to turn into a big kitty cat. And he was so powerful, he sent them flying out of the building. Now before Luffy's meeting with Robin and Iceberg had a conversation, and she told him the reason why she's doing this, and it was because if she didn't go with the CP9, they'll make a Buster Call. The Buster Call is a very destructive and powerful act, and it can even wipe off an entire island. So basically, she was going to sacrifice herself for the sake of the Straw Hat's safety. And Iceberg went to Nami and told her about Robin. And Nami felt so happy that Robin didn't actually betray them, and went looking for Luffy as soon as possible. And she found him stuck between two buildings. And when she saw him like that, she started yelling, saying, "What are you doing? Robin is going to sacrifice herself for our sake. Get out from there and let's go." And Luffy was like, "Alright, say no more." And then he pushed the two buildings apart and freed himself. Meanwhile, also Zoro was stuck because of course. Now in the meantime, the CP9 broke into Franky's hideout. Now speaking of Franky, after Luffy destroyed his base, Franky went looking for him to take revenge. But he couldn't, so he kidnapped Usopp instead. And well, Franky and Usopp became besties. And they had a conversation about the ship, and Usopp told him that he knew deep down that Mary couldn't be fixed. And he also told him about the spirit he saw back in Skypiea. And before they continued their conversation, the CP9 broke in. Lucci told Franky that they know about his true name and true identity, which was Cutty Flam, and that he was the one hiding the blueprint. And they arrested him and Usopp and took them to Enies lobby. Franky's backstory was revealed, and it was pretty interesting actually. It contained young Iceberg, Yokozuna, and Kokoro, and Tom. Tom was the one who built the train, and he was also the one who built Roger's ship. But unfortunately, he was later executed at the Enies lobby. Now back to Luffy and the others. After Robin was taken to the Enies lobby, they went to search for a train to catch up with her. However, Sanji was one step ahead of the crew. After he saw Robin get on the train, he followed her and left a message saying that he's already on the train with Robin, and he took a small Denden Mushi to contact them. And he finds Franky and Usopp and frees them. Now I'm not gonna lie, Sanji did an amazing job in this arc. Now in the meantime, while Luffy and the others were looking for a ship, Kokoro shows up and offers to help them. She takes them to a place where an old sea train was kept, and there they find Iceberg already doing some maintenance, and he tells them that him and Kokoro had the same idea. The Franky family shows up and begs Luffy to take them with him, since Franky is also being taken to the Enies lobby, and they really want to save him. Luffy agrees, and they all form an alliance along with Polly and two others from the Galila Company, and they take off to Enies lobby with Kokoro conducting. Now it was such a long trip on the train, but it was never boring. Usopp disguises as Soggy King because he doesn't really want to face Luffy and the others after what happened. Now of course everyone knows that he's actually Usopp, except for Luffy and Chopper because, well. Anyway, Soggy King told Robin that Luffy and the others are coming to save her, but she didn't seem happy at all. And the rest of the trip was basically just fighting with the Marines. And one of my favorite scenes is where Luffy sees a Marine train car, and he tells Zoro to go cut them. And Zoro was like, "Alright, bet." And then he cuts the train car in half like it was pudding or something in the coolest way possible. And yet they ask me why Zoro is my favorite character. Like bruh. Now moving to the part where they finally arrive at the Enies lobby. Luffy encounters a CP9 agent Bluno at a rooftop, and he reveals the second gear. This technique enhances his strength and speed, and he defeats Bluno using it in seconds. Now seeing Luffy using new techniques is so refreshing. But it was also kind of concerning hearing about the side effects, because we don't want anything bad to happen to our boy Luffy. Now when they finally see Robin again, she was standing on another building with the CP9 agents and some idiot named Spandam. Luffy and the others were so happy to see her, but she wasn't. Or she was, but deep down. She starts telling them that she doesn't want their help, and that they should just forget about her, and she even said that she wants to die. And Luffy was like, "Listen, I don't care. You are coming with us." And Robin's backstory was finally revealed. So she was born in an island named Ohara, and it was known for a 5,000-year-old library inside of a tree named the Tree of Knowledge, and many archaeologists lived there. And it was destroyed by the world government using the Buster Call, leaving Robin as the only survivor with a 79 million berries bounty at 8 years old. So she spent her life running away from the Marines and was betrayed by many people. So she believed that this was her fate and she can't run away from it. And she was afraid that the Straw Hats one day will see her as a burden and betray her too. Now that was one hell of a backstory. Like, she suffered a lot. It was very sad. Her mother Olivia was also mentioned, and she was also an archaeologist and she was wanted by the world government. However, we still know so little about her. Now back to Spandam. He pointed at the world's government flag and said that this was the reason behind everything, and also said that this was the biggest and most powerful organization and they have no chance against it. And Luffy was like, hey Soge King, can you shoot that flag please? And well, this changed One Piece forever. Like, dude, you just declared war at the world government. I mean, I'm not sure if I should be surprised or not. Anyway, after Robin sees how far they went, she broke down and shouted at the top of her lungs that she wants to live. And Franky burned the ancient weapon blueprint. And now to save Robin, they have to gather 5 keys from the CP9 agents. And that's when the fun starts. Everyone reveals a new ability, which made the fights really cool and satisfying. Luffy revealed Gear 3rd, Sanji with a Diable Jump. I guess he doesn't need his lighter anymore, am I right? Okay, I'm sorry. And Zoro with the Ashura, with a cool pose of course. Chopper took 3 Rumble Balls in a row, which caused him to completely lose control, and he became a giant beast. Like, it was actually scary. He started attacking enemies and allies all together, and when he returned to normal, he didn't remember anything. Now what's really interesting is that all of these developments happened mid-fight. And also something really hilarious happened, which is Zoro and Usopp being handcuffed together by accident. Like, this was the funniest shit ever. Now at the meantime, Robin was being taken to the gates of justice. And if she went through the gates, there is no going back. Now guess what Spandam did? He accidentally summons the Buster Call. Meanwhile, Luffy was fighting with Lucci, who was blocking him from reaching Robin. And holy moly, what a fight. And I'm not gonna lie, Lucci is one of the coolest villains. Luffy barely wins using Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd, and he becomes temporarily paralyzed. Meanwhile, Franky delivers the keys to Robin and removes her handcuffs. And she gives Spandam the Slap 1000. Now at the meantime, Zoro and the others were escaping an underground tunnel because the building was too damaged and it was being filled up with water. But they didn't make it on time and they were about to drown, but they were saved by a beautiful mermaid. Her name is Kokoro. Now after the Straw Hats were reunited, it wasn't over yet because there was a Buster Call. And what saved them from that pinch was something unexpected at all. It was the Going Merry. It sailed alone to the Enies lobby to save the Straw Hats one last time. And with that, they exit the Enies lobby, leaving the world government with a complete defeat, which took the world by storm. And on their way back to Water 7, they see a Galila company ship with Iceberg on it. And he tells them that the other night he heard the voice of the Going Merry, and she requested that he repairs her one last time. And of course, Iceberg granted her wish and saw her taking off alone. Luffy tried to convince Iceberg to fix her once again, but Iceberg said that it can't be done and that she has already exceeded her limits. So Luffy and the others understands what needs to be done, and they give her a funeral and set her on fire. Now, if you didn't cry in that scene, you are a big liar. Now, back at Water 7. Franky said that he has always dreamed of building a powerful ship that can circle the world. So he decides to build one to help him achieve that dream and to give it to the Straw Hats, since he owes them in many ways. Now, while they were having this conversation, a Navy Vice Admiral bursts in. He said he was here to meet Luffy. Then he spots Luffy sleeping, so he wakes him up with a fist of love. Turns out this Vice Admiral is Luffy's grandfather. And then he starts dropping lore bombs non-stop. That I actually had to pause and process all of these informations for a second. So this man just casually said that Monkey D. Dragon from the Revolutionary Army is Luffy's actual father. And this army is trying to directly bring down the world government. And also said that Shanks is one of the 4 emperors alongside with the Whitebeard. And Dragon was the one who saved Luffy from Smoker back in Locktown. But Luffy didn't remember meeting him. And oh boy, there was so much information in just one episode. I mean, I did think that Luffy's family would not be ordinary, but damn, I really wasn't prepared. And we also got to see Kobe and Helmeppo. And what a glow up. Like, Garp, what did you feed them? Okay, now moving on, Franky starts building the ship with the help of Iceberg and Galila Company. At this point, Luffy was considering making him part of the crew. Meanwhile, Sanji overheard Usopp creating fake scenarios of how he can rejoin the Straw Hats. So he reports back to Luffy and the others, and they felt so happy that Usopp is coming back. And here comes my favorite Zoro speech. He said that if Usopp didn't apologize first, he's not gonna accept his comeback, and said that Luffy is the captain and he should be respected. And if Usopp can't treat him with respect when things are critical, then the gang is better off without him. And Luffy might be an idiot, but he's still the captain. And if Luffy ever shows any weakness, Zoro will be the one leaving the Straw Hats. Again, well said Zoro, 1 million out of 10. And you know it's serious when Sanji just listens. And after Franky and the others finish building the ship, Luffy invites him to the crew. Now Franky was happy with the offer, but he couldn't accept, because he couldn't leave his family behind. But actually they were the ones who asked Luffy to make Franky join the Straw Hats. And it's because after what happened, Franky got a bounty. And since he has a bounty, they can't protect him. The rest of the Straw Hats bounties had changed as well. And Sanji's reaction was hilarious, because it wasn't actually him, it was just a really bad drawing that looked like him. Or was it? Anyway, Luffy said that he was already considering the idea, but Franky still refused. But of course, they didn't give up. At the end, Robin handled the matter with an unusual way. But it worked, and he officially becomes part of the crew. Now I really like Franky. He's a 10, but he takes pervert as a compliment. So yeah, that episode was so funny yet so emotional. Now when it was the time to leave Water 7, they get on the new ship, the Thousand Sunny. Garp comes back on a Navy warship, saying that he can't let them go and he wants to arrest them. And while he was attacking them, Usopp finally shows up. And he starts saying things like, hey, rejoice, I'm back, be happy, stop the ship, take me with you. However, the Straw Hats weren't listening. They were waiting for him to say the word sorry. This goes on for a few moments until he finally apologizes and said, sorry, I was wrong, forgive me and let me join the Straw Hats again. And only then Luffy extends his hand and pulls him to the ship. And now all the members are finally together. And with that they leave Water 7 with an extra member and a new ship. And what an arc. Holy shit. It's definitely one of my top 3 arcs. Like, it was perfect. The fights were amazing. I loved all the characters. A new member, a new ship, new abilities, a lot of new informations and plot twists. And they declared war at the world government. And that's it for the Water 7 saga. I tried to make it as brief and as short as possible. Let me know if I missed any important points. And please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and bye bye.